Hello, Year 7. Welcome to another video walkthrough of our lessons for this week. So we're continuing with our inquiry from last week about Bloody Mary I and whether she really was bloody. The first thing you're going to need to do is go to Microsoft Teams. I've sent you an email about this. In fact, you might have a couple of emails, including a link to Microsoft Teams, and you're going to go ahead and log in. A reminder, I did put this in the email, but you need to use your school email address and whatever password you use for school. It might be that it's an old password, so keep trying if it doesn't work first time. Okay, I've already got my Microsoft Teams loaded, so I'm just going to bring it up on the screen there. And you'll see here's our class, History, Year 7. So I'm going to click on that. And very handily, you'll see that this week's two assignments are the last things on the posts section. So it's very easy for you to access this week. But of course, you could also go to your assignments tab at the top and do it that way if you wanted. I'm just going to do it this way because it's here. So I'm going to click on that button, view assignment for lesson 3, because that's the lesson we're doing first. Now, as I said last week, yours is going to look very different to mine right now. So I'm going to go to student view. This is how yours will look. There's some instructions there. You'll also notice that there's a number of videos for you to watch. The first video here is a walkthrough of how to use Microsoft Teams. The second two are videos that you need for this lesson, as you will see. Now, for some reason, they've not recorded or gone up as links. I don't know why it's not worked properly, but it's easy. If you just highlight it with the mouse, copy and paste it, so you can press Control-C, or you can right-click and press copy. I prefer to click Control-C because it's easier. Then I'm going to open a new tab. Remember, use Microsoft Teams in Google Chrome. It tends to be a bit better. I'm going to open up the new tab, and then I'm just going to copy it in there. I could press right-click and click paste, but I prefer to just hold down Control and press V on my keyboard, and then I'm going to press enter, and it's going to take me to that video. Now I'm going to close that down because I've already got them loaded, but that's how you're going to bring those videos up. Now, then I'm going to click, like last week, on the assignment. And again, like last week, you've got a couple of options. If you want to download this and work on your own version of Word on your own device, that is fine. You just click on Edit Document, and you're going to click Edit in Desktop App, Edit in Desktop App. If you would prefer to print this off and do it by hand, that's also fine. You're going to click Print to print this document. I'm highlighting it now. Just remember, if you're doing one of those two things, that you need to make sure that you're still handing it in on Microsoft Teams. Do not email it to me or Mr. Jones will get grumpy. If you need instructions of how to do that, go and look at the other video that I posted with the assignment. It talks you through how to hand things in on Microsoft Teams. I'm going to edit this on Teams though, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Edit in Browser, because that's by far the easiest way to do it. Although, as I told you last week, and you might have seen, Word online is a bit annoying and moves things around. It's far, far easier for you to hand it in if you edit in browser, okay? So you'll see here that we're on our second lesson, Gloriana, a great queen, and there's a definition here of what Gloriana means, and another keyword, the Spanish Armada, which was an attack on Elizabethan England, it's difficult to say, in 1588. Elizabethan England, of course, refers to when Queen Elizabeth I was the Queen of England, and Wales, and parts of other countries too. Now, the same as last week, you're just going to type where it says type here. So you're going to answer each of these questions and put these time periods or events in order. Pause the video here. It should take you about 2.5–3 minutes. Do those tasks now. Okay, I'm not going to go through the top two, but we'll talk about the other ones here. So put the time periods in order. While medieval England, you should have, in fact, what's the first one on here? Oh, it is medieval. No, it's Roman Britain. Let's do Roman Britain first because that's the first one. Roman Britain, you should have from about 43 AD until about 440 AD. So you're not going to type Roman Britain. You're going to put D there. And then medieval England, well, that's from 1066 until 1485 AD. So you should have that about there. The Tudors comes next from 1485 until 1603. So that comes about there. And the Stuarts, well, they are going to come after the Tudors from roughly 1603 until about 1714. So you should have B there. Okay, the next line, the first one that you should have is the Tower of London built, because that was built in about 1070, initially by William, or ordered to be built by William the Conqueror. Next, you should have Edward the First conquering Wales, because that was in the 13th century or the 1200s. 1270s, I believe, off the top of my head. You should then have the Peasants' Revolt, because that was in 1381. B there. And finally, you should have the printing press invented, because that is in the 1440s, the Gutenberg press. Okay, so that's how it should look. Once you've done that, what I need you to do is move on to the task underneath. Who is this woman in the picture? I'd like to think you all know. And then you're going to type your answer where it says type here. Now, we obviously remember, or lots of us do remember this person today. I need you to think about, that's what these little two icons mean. They mean to think, how might we explain why this lady is so well remembered today? And then you can type your answer to that question. Why is she so well remembered underneath? Now, if you finish that, move on to the challenge. Describe how people's opinions of this queen may be different to Mary I, and I should say are different, and how might we explain this difference? So there's a number of tasks, 1, 2, 3 at least, and the challenge for 5 for you to complete there. That should take you about 2.5, 3 minutes. Pause the video here, complete those tasks now. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to need to go and watch the first video. Now, I've put a link for you here in the task, actually. So if you hold down the control button, you'll see that, and hover over that blue text, you'll see that a finger with a hand with a finger pointing appears. If you click that, it will actually go ahead and open that link for you. I've already got it open, so I don't need to do it. But as you are watching this video, you need to answer all of the questions underneath. I'm also going to play this video to you in the recording. You only need to watch the first 2 minutes or so, okay? So, as we're playing this video, answer the questions as we go.
In January 1559, Elizabeth I was crowned Queen of England. She was the last of the great Tudor dynasty, a bright star who dazzled both the nation and the world. The achievement of most stars fades quickly, but Elizabeth has lasted for nearly 4 centuries, and it's easy to see why. She reigned for 45 tumultuous years. Her ships defeated the Spanish Armada and sailed round the globe. In her time, Shakespeare wrote plays and Spenser wrote poems. English noblemen and foreign princes wooed her. But she, the Virgin Queen, made love to that loyalist of audiences, the English people. Elizabeth was one of the daughters of King Henry VIII, but the right of women to succeed to the throne was still in doubt, and her path there would be perilous. Her father would kill her mother, and she would be disinherited. Her sister would imprison her in the Tower and threaten her with execution. Men would love her for her royal status and not for herself. She would be sexually abused by her own stepfather. Most monarchs are handed their crowns on a plate. Elizabeth got hers by cunning and courage.
Okay, that's all you need to watch, just the first 2 minutes. Let's go back to the tasks. Now, if you haven't had a chance to do those, you need to pause the video here and complete those tasks now. It should take you at least a couple of minutes. You can also do the challenges too. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, so question 1. When was Elizabeth I crowned? You should have written 1559. I'm not going to complete the challenge tasks, so you can do those yourself. Question 2. She was the last of the great Tudor dynasty. Let's go back to the video and we'll check that actually. Oh no, a bright star, that should be. Mr. Jones temporarily forgot. Apologies, you perhaps are sending me a file. That should say she was the last of the great Tudor dynasty, a bright star. How long does historian, that was the man you saw, David Starkey, say Elizabeth's achievements have lasted? Well, they've lasted over 400 years, he tells us. And he gives us lots of reasons why it's lasted so long. And you could have put these down as words or phrases which create a feeling of greatness in the video. He said she reigned for 45 tumultuous years. Her ships sailed around the world and defeated the Spanish Armada in 1588. Shakespeare and poets wrote during her time, and she was loyal to the British people. She was married to them. All of these things, and just even the way he's talking, seem to suggest that Elizabeth is someone who's remembered, but also remembered fondly. British people like her. And I think that's interesting, especially when we think about Mary in the last lesson. So we're actually going to compare this now to that video we watched about Mary I. Remind yourselves, that's her Elizabeth's elder sister. And as you watch this video, as it says, think about how it is different from the video we just watched about Elizabeth I. Write your ideas about how it is different here, where it says type here below. We're going to watch it in the browser again.
Mary Tudor was the most hated queen in British history. During her 5-year reign, she threw all England into chaos. Mary beheaded traitors, murdered heretics, and had pregnant women burnt to death in the name of her religious fanaticism. The entire nation lived in fear of her.
Make no mistake about it. Burning of somebody at the stake is a very nasty business. It takes a long time to die. The smell of human burning fat would have been overpowering.
There were nearly 300 burnt in about 3.5 years in Mary's reign, which was actually more than the Spanish Inquisition and the French Chambre Ardente put together in the same period.
Thousands fled into hiding, and the streets of English cities were polluted with the putrid smell of burning flesh. She created such terror that she's known as Bloody Mary. Mary.
Okay, we're going to pause it there. That's all you need to watch, actually. Let's go back to our assignment. So you should now be typing underneath, and if you haven't done that, then pause it here about how that video is different. If you're struggling, think about the language that it used. Think about the music that the video used. What differed between that and the video we just watched about Elizabeth? I think lots. Pause the video here, complete the task where it says type here now. It should take you about a minute and a half at least. Pause the video. Okay, once you've done that, as it says underneath, you need to read passages 1, 2, and 3 on the next page, or next pages, that should say. Each passage is about a different achievement during Elizabeth I's reign. These are why we remember her as Gloriana. Remember, that means the glorious queen. It was one of your keywords at the start of the lesson. So you'll see here, there's 3 passages. Passage 1, the Spanish Armada, 1588. Passage 2, that next page that should be on, creative arts. And passage 3, great explorations. So you need to go off and read all of those, thanks. And you're going to do this alone first. So you've got 3 pages to read there. It's quite a lot. That should take you a good chunk of time. So you need to pause the video here and do that task now. It should take you about 10 minutes to read all 3 at least. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, so you should have gone and read that. I'm going to read the first one to you because we're going to do the tasks. You may have already done them and you might have used your initiative. If you have, kudos, that's excellent. But I'm going to read the first one to you now so it's clear what you need to do. It says, this information about the Spanish Armada in 1588 was taken from a GCSE school textbook. Elizabeth is remembered for defeating the Spanish Armada. She has gone down in history as the queen who beat the awful Catholic, Spanish, and saved England. But is this fair? At this time, Spain was the most powerful country in the world. Spain was a Catholic Christian country. After Mary I, who had made England Catholic, had died, Elizabeth had changed England back to Protestant Christianity, as it remained for the rest of British history. Catholic and Protestants hated each other. Philip II wanted to turn England back into a Catholic country. Philip II was the King of Spain. For these reasons, Philip declared war. I'm just going to change that whilst I'm here. For these reasons, Philip declared war on Queen Elizabeth's England. In 1588, he sent a huge army to England of 130 ships. This was called the Spanish Armada. I'm just going to go and change something very quickly, just to make it clear that King Philip is the King of Spain. And then I'll carry on. Sorry, SM. For these reasons, Philip declared war on Elizabeth's England. In 1588, he sent a huge army to England of 130 ships. This was called the Spanish Armada. Philip expected the Armada to crush the English and get rid of Elizabeth. I'm going to change one more thing. I'm noticing lots of mistakes as I read this year 7. I'm going to change this from army to navy, because when we talk about ships, that's a navy, not an army. The Armada was first spotted off the coast of the southwest of England. Elizabeth is remembered as a heroine because she travelled to a place called Tilbury and made a famous speech in front of the English soldiers before they left to go fight the Spanish. Records tell us, she said, "I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart of a king, and a king of England too." Elizabeth was one of the first and last queens to lead soldiers into battle. Elizabeth's historians write that the English ships were much smaller than the Spanish ships. For that reason, the Spanish Armada is remembered as a great English victory led by Queen Elizabeth. However, Elizabeth spent most of her time in her palace in London. The battles were won by her great general, Sir Francis Drake, and others. Also, lots of the Spanish ships were very old, whilst the English ships were much newer, had new quick-firing cannons, and the English had more ships. So was the Spanish Armada really a great victory for Elizabeth? I'm going to add more for you here as well, Year 7. That speech that I read that Queen Elizabeth is supposed to have made, well, she never actually made that speech. It's like I said, she spent most of the time in a palace. I think this is all very interesting, isn't it? What you're going to do now is answer the questions underneath. Starting with, when was the Spanish Armada? You should be able to find that above. It's in 1588. Question 2. Why did Philip of Spain want to invade England? Well, if I go and read again, Spain's the most powerful country in the world. Spain was Catholic. After Mary had made England Catholic, Elizabeth had changed it back to Protestant Christianity. Catholic and Protestants hated each other. Philip wanted England to turn back into a Catholic country. So that's my answer. Again, you're going to get a bonus here, some extra knowledge. Mary had actually been married to Philip II of Spain. So not only did Philip want England to turn back to a Catholic country, in addition, he wanted to have control of England again for the Spanish Empire. It's an interesting point. How many ships were part of the Spanish Armada? Well, again, I'm going to go back. Here we go, 130 ships. I think you're getting the idea. With all of these extracts, you need to read them and then answer the questions, including the challenge questions, by typing your answer underneath. Simple. Pause the video here, complete those tasks now. It should take you at least 5 minutes. Pause the video. Okay, next job. As it says, thinking about everything you've learned today, how great and glorious was Elizabeth I? You're going to not circle a number in actual fact. You're going to select a number from 1 to 10, and then you are going to type your number here, literally where I've just typed it. Okay? Simple. So select a number. How great and glorious was Elizabeth I? Write your number where it says type your number here. Should take you about a minute or so. Make sure you've thought about it and thought about what evidence you might use to back up your number. Pause the video here, do that now. Okay, once you've done that, last job for today. Hopefully you'll remember writing a tweet last week, something for Twitter. You're going to do the same thing. You need to write a tweet explaining what number you circled and why. Now, you must include evidence or facts to back up your answer. For example, I might write the number 7, and I'm going to put my Twitter name underneath, SOJ Boulder. And then I'm going to finish off this sentence starter. I believe on a scale of 1 to 10 for gloriousness, Elizabeth I was 7. She was involved in the Spanish Armada in 1588. She reigned for over 45 years. She was married to the English. Hashtag Elizabeth I. Hashtag history. Hashtag Tudors. There we go. So like mine, you can put hashtags in if you would like to. I'm going to be a bit fancy and change that all into blue actually, because that's sort of the colour that tends to get used for text on Twitter. I'll look nice in my work. There we go. And once you've finished that, you can answer the challenge question underneath. Now, the very, very last thing, and I promise this is the last thing in this lesson, you're going to think about this number. 190. What could 190 refer to? What could that be about? Think back to Mary and a particular number that we plucked for Mary and executions. I've said too much. Think about it yourself and write an answer underneath. What could that number 190 represent? Once you've completed that task, that's the end of this lesson. Watch out for my other video on assignment 4, on lesson 4 for this week.